This last conversation really struck me about, you said something about uprooting these feelings and beliefs.
Yes.
I've
First exposing them.
Exposing them,
and
yes.
Then uprooting them.
Right.
And finally dissolving them.
So I would like you to help me to unroot a little more. I feel the exposure in myself of all these beliefs, like the longing for being with another, this deep longing for being with a friend. And it has been, I know from my upbringing, it's a strong conditioning. And I know for a long time this is not the answer. I know it.
Yes.
But my whole system is screaming that for that to be answered.
Yes. So what are you longing for? You visualize this friend.
This
I long friend. What is it that you really long for?
I long for being in truth and sharing that with being mirrored, basically, in this, in sharing. As you say, it's one step to be in me and rest in that, and then it's venturing out from the cave, that part. I don't know where I'm at right now. I mean, I've been a long time in this cave, but it was more like hiding than like real, truly exploring. It's more resignation, I think.
Yes. You see that, yes, exactly. That's a very important point to discern in yourself. Is this sitting in the cave? Is it true peace or is it resignation? If it's resignation, we're not sitting in the cave.
I know.
The ego has built a little structure around itself and painted the walls with some cave paintings and planted some plants and is fooling itself that it is sitting in a cave.
Yes, even in satsang, even if I was in situations like this, it was my cave. It was not really like you now very sharply show me that it's a cave.
You see, the reason why it's important to discern in yourself whether it's true peace of awareness or the resignation of a separate self is because our desires can proceed from either of these possibilities. A desire can proceed from pure awareness, or it can proceed from the separate self. A desire that proceeds from pure awareness, that is a desire that is not filtered through the belief and feeling of separation.
Wait, I can't follow you anymore.
Okay.
A desire from?
Okay, I'll go slowly. We have these two possibilities. Abiding in the cave, just resting as awareness, knowing our own being, or resignation, which is the form in which the separate self mimics the peace of awareness. But as you rightly say, it's resignation, it's not peace. Okay? So these are the two possibilities. So you're abiding as awareness, in which case you experience true peace and happiness, or you're abiding as a separate self, in which case you experience a fake peace, which is at best resignation. But underneath that resignation, there is agitation and desire. Yes? So our desires can proceed from either of these two possibilities.
What means proceed?
Our desires can arise on behalf of pure awareness or the separate self. Now, a desire that arises or proceeds from pure awareness and is that is a desire that is not filtered through the separate self, simply seeks to share itself. It's just, it feels full of itself. There is no lack there. It is perfectly at peace. It doesn't mind in the least whether its desire is fulfilled or not, because it is at peace prior to the desire. Its peace and happiness doesn't depend on the fulfillment of the desire. The desire is simply there because at the level of a body-mind, it is natural to express our innate nature of peace and happiness in relationship. So a desire might arise from there. I would like to be with a friend, just because I want to share this peace and love that I feel. But if a friend doesn't show up, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm still at peace. My peace is not...
I faked that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So the desire that rises from the separate self is a desire that doesn't come from happiness.
Yes.
It is a desire that is desiring, in this case, a relationship, in order to find happiness. So the separate self minds very much when its desires are not fulfilled.
What is this last?
The separate self, unlike awareness, I'm caricaturing the two now. Unlike awareness, the separate self minds very much if its desires are not fulfilled. Because if its desires are not fulfilled, it doesn't experience the happiness that it is seeking through them. And therefore, at best, it will be content with a state of resignation. That's what you're experiencing. Yes. It is a kind of fake peace.
Why do you say at best?
Because...
What was the question?
Why did I say at best? It is resignation. Because there are so many other things that the separate self could do with its lack of happiness. In other words, it could be motivated to go out again towards an object or person. But at least if it stays with its resignation, the separate self the feeling is inside. It has the opportunity to do exactly what you're doing, which is to explore that sense of resignation, rather than simply to fulfill it through another object. So it's very good. You're doing exactly the right thing. You feel this resignation, which is a subtle form of desire. It's a kind of thin veil, your desire. But instead of, so this is your desire for another person now. Instead of going out to the other person, explore this sense of resignation, this sense of, which is a sense of lack. But that is the separate self. Now, even if, as a separate self, you were to find a relationship that brought you happiness, that relationship would be a mirror to the sense of lack which initiated it. That's a very shaky basis on which to start a relationship. And that is why there is so much conflict in so many relationships, because the relationship has been founded upon one, or in most cases two, separate selves or two senses of lack. And therefore what is happening is that each person is simply trying to fulfill themselves through the other. And that's, as we know, is a...
Yeah, I know this one.
We all know it. We all know. We all know how that ends. So...
Yeah, but yeah, now it's really if you have, well, to get out of the habit of resignation, and
yes,
so that is another
way
thing.
To get out of the habit of resignation is to find the one who is resigned. The habit of resignation revolves around the self that you believe yourself to be. Until you find the nature of that self, you will always find yourself having feelings such as resignation, lack, boredom, longing, fear, etc. It may change. The separate self may change its hat from day to day, resignation today, boredom tomorrow, agitation the next day, desire for a partner the next day. And in this way, there'll be some feeling that you are evolving or changing. No, you're not. It's just the same old separate self in every single case, expressing itself through these different feelings. And until the nature of that separate self is discovered, it will go on and ad infinitum, expressing itself in these feelings, which all boil down to either a sense of lack or a fear of death. Those are the two essential forms of the separate self. All our feelings are modulations of those two essential forms, fear and lack. So that's good. You've seen that this peace is not true peace. It's dry. It's a fake peace. It's resignation.
Though it's not all of that. I mean, I have also experienced already moments of real truth.
Of course. I'm not suggesting that it's 100% one. You're in a back and forth phase, and it's precisely because you're in this back and forth phase that you can discern the difference between resignation and peace. So that's very good. So when you're sitting in your cave, you have to take your magnifying glass out. And when you are sitting in your cave, you have to take your magnifying glass out. You have to look at the walls. Is this really the cave of the heart, the knowing of my own being? Or is it the shack of the ego? You know, all the cardboard boxes around the ego that it has built. And you have the sensitivity, you know the difference. If it is truly the cave of the heart, the knowing of your own being aware of being aware, then abide there. That abidance will gradually dissolve the residues of separation. But if it is not that, if it is a fake peace, if it is resignation, go to find the one that is at the center of that resignation, that calls itself I. That one, the hole in the piece of paper that seems to be limited by the paper. But when you go close to it, you find that it is a vast empty space. And it is that discovery which will transform resignation into peace.